I was in Vancouver trying to get back home to Minneapolis. Someone told me he knew of a guy with a van who was also going there, so I asked him for a ride, but he was taking a girl along and didn't want any other passengers. Someone suggested hopping a freight train, so I hitchhiked to Seattle and found a train going east. In the middle of the night, the train stopped. After waiting a long time for it to get moving, I looked out the door and saw that my boxcar had been uncoupled and was just sitting there on a siding. I found another train which headed up over the Cascade Mountains. Waking in the night, I peed out the door and saw huge, jagged, snow-capped peaks under a black sky filled with brilliant stars. The next day was a pleasant ride on a flat car across eastern Washington. That night, going over the Continental Divide, it was really cold, so I put on all the clothes I had. I went to sleep, but when the train went over a rough section of track, I awoke being thrown up into the air and slammed onto the cold steel floor of the boxcar. The next morning, when the train pulled into Livingston, Montana, I looked out, saw a restaurant, went over, and ordered a big breakfast. As I sat there eating, I saw the train start to move and glad I wasn't on it. I walked out to the freeway and tried to hitch a ride, but there was hardly any traffic, so I came back into town and found out about another train leaving later that night. To kill time, I went into a bar, sat down, and ordered a beer. I glanced over at the next table, and there sat the guy who had refused me the ride in Vancouver. He told me that the girl had decided not to come along after all and that I could have a ride the rest of the way to Minneapolis.